Marin. Hello. Welcome to the Wheel and Chill Show. Today we have an incredibly special guest. So before we introduce ourselves, we are going to introduce our guest, MarinVere, my Twitter mom. Because if you know me, you know that I'm McWayneAlvere on Twitter. So Marin, what's up? Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us, how you got involved in the Wheel of Time online community.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And I just need to ask you, did you and Rand ever get those dishes done? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I
as I
actually got
recall.
involved with the I got involved with the Twitter time community. Oh gosh, about 2 years ago. This month, actually, 2 years ago, in November.
Wow.
Rand, the welcoming Rand, had posted something, and I'm like, Randall Thorpe. That's a name from a book I really like, and nobody else I know reads. And I followed him and saw his posts and saw everybody. And then, actually, I guess that was a little longer because it was in November that I actually made the MarinVere account. So it's been super fun, and it's like a really fun part of my life now.
For sure. That's awesome. So do you have anything other than your Twitter of Time account that is, either like Wheel of Time, or do you have other projects that you want to promote while you're on our stream?
Well, if anyone happens to like true crime, Murderous Roots is super fun. Murderousroots.com, true crime and genealogy all mixed up. And other
Ooh.
than that, just would like to say the Midwest is lovely this time of year and everyone should come visit. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Very nice. Well,
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
speaking of the Midwest, can I just say before I forget that there is a conference. Well, there are two Wheel of Time conferences this year. Obviously, everyone's familiar with JordanCon, but there's another one that I'm helping to plan, and it's called WatCon, and it's in Ohio. I've never been to Ohio. I hear it's something. So, so anyways, that's in July, and I just wanted to plug it. The website is now live, and you can buy your memberships. I already bought mine, so if you get your tickets, then I'll see you there. And that's my plug for WatCon. Now, let me just introduce my co-hosts. We have Tavern and the Winespring Cafe. Why don't we start with Winespring Cafe? Tell us about yourself and plug your personal projects before we get started. And by the way, sorry, before let me interrupt. We're going to be talking about episode 4 very shortly, so don't leave us. We just want to get the stuff out there first, really quick.
Yeah, really quick. I'm Winespring Cafe, winespringcafe.com. That's my recipe blog that is focused on Wheel of Time food. So you should check it out, and you should cook the food, and then you should come tell me how much you love it. That would be great. I'm also doing some super fun stuff with Amazon over on GatherTown. If y'all haven't checked out their like Wheel of Time world that they've set up, it's really cool. Definitely go check that out too.
Nice. Okay, Tavern, hit us with your deets. What are you up to these days?
On YouTube. No, so let's see. I have my primary thing. I do TikToks, so I'm Tavern on TikTok. I also design some merch. So I have a TeePublic account and I have a Redbubble merch store as well. They're in my link tree, so you can find me on either Twitter, and I think my link tree is also on TikTok, except I broke it up because they don't let you do links. So I cheated. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Very, very nice. And I, the third co-host of the Wheel and Chill Show, am Kritter XD. I am also a TikToker. I am McWayneAlvere on Twitter, and I also have a Twitter that's just me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, obviously. I'm on Twitch, obviously, depending on where you're watching. And I just do Wheel of Time and fantasy content every single day, pretty much. And it's been so much fun now that the show has been coming out, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And also, I completely have been ignoring the chat. You guys are amazing. Hello, everyone. I hope to see you at the conferences because I'm going to JordanCon and WatCon, and I would love to see you there. And my experience, what platform is Watt more popular on? Without a doubt, no question, YouTube. If we're comparing YouTube and Twitch, so let's get started. What did we talk about? Which one are we going to start with? Because we've got three distinct plots, I think. Three distinct plots in this episode. We've got the Rand, Matt, and Tom. we've got Perrin and Egwene, and we've got the mind-blowing plot with Nynaeve, and that's all the only person who matters, basically. But no, it's not. I mean, there's other stuff. There's other stuff in that plot, but we've got the Aes Sedai Nynaeve plot. And I think we talked about doing Rand and Matt first. Is that right? Am I?
We did,
Okay.
but then we discussed. Remember, we talked about the Logain intro,
Oh, you're
really short.
True.
and we also have the dream sequence that could happen after the random event. I'm assuming.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do this. So who's got strong feelings? I mean, okay, so the cold open was pretty epic, and I'm not sure. I said in my YouTube video that I loved it and I thought it might be the best one, but then I remembered the Nynaeve cold open. And I think they're pretty comparable.
That is true.
So, yeah, Marin, let's start
Yeah,
with
that's
you
a
because
tough
you
one.
are our special guest. How did you feel about this cold open?
I have to say, I didn't blink during most of the episode, but especially during that cold open, because it seemed so much was happening and Logain looked so intense. It was like mesmerizing to watch him. I mean, that actor is absolutely amazing. And when they had the insanity talking to him and those figures, it was just like, I had wondered how they were going to portray that. Like, will it be disembodied voices? How will they do this? And the way they handled it was absolutely stunning. So, yeah, that was a pretty amazing cold open.
Yeah, I just threw this up on the screen. The channeling, I think, looks so cool. I think it looks so cool. And the way they depicted the corruption, or, the taint, if you're a book reader.
The taint.
The way they depicted that, I think, is so cool, because in the books it's described as like an oil slick, sort of, on like the surface of the, of the source of the weaves, and I think they did that exactly. They did it exactly right, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
What
Same.
do you think, Winespring? What are your thoughts on this?
Let's see. My favorite part of that is when he acknowledges the fact that he does not need a crown to rule. He kind of makes a joke about it, like, what is a crown to the dragon reborn?
Right.
Dude, who are you? Who cares about a piece of metal? It was pretty wonderful. I really appreciated that moment. And, obviously, like when he showed compassion, or maybe not compassion, he just didn't murder, he remained gentle
Oh my gosh,
instead,
what's This happens all the time. Here we go.
So I really liked that. And his tone of voice, I think, is probably a huge thing that stands out for me. He was so gentle in how he spoke. I was sucked in. I mean, I totally get it.
Yeah, he went from being incredibly scary, like, holy hell, he's going to obliterate this entire stronghold, to, wow, this guy's kind of great, just like very merciful, and the way he talked just really sucked me in. What do you think about this, Tavern? What were your takeaways?
I loved this whole scene. I really did. Now, somebody had pointed out that there was some kind of pattern in the weaves that kind of looked like the fang and and the flame. I didn't see it. I got the screenshot anyways because I figured let's look at it while we're here, which you already showed. And it looked more like the symbol for Doctor Strange than it did the fang and the flame. I'm just but the whole take on Logain, and that he's got these beings, and I'll leave it at beings for right now, talking to him, saying kill him, whatever, and he's like not even paying attention. He's doing his own thing, and he's trying to unite rather than destroy. He understands that you have to attack, you have to do, there's going to be some resistance and there's going to be some fighting, but in the end it's about bringing everybody together, which I thought was clever because I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, just phenomenal intro.
Yeah, he's I'm a big fan of early Logain, and we talked about, Marin addressed this slightly, but like the people whispering in his ear, I think the way that this was depicted, like the visual choice here, was awesome. It was different from the cold open from episode 1, which was kind of, it wasn't my favorite part of episode 1. It's probably my least favorite part of episode 1, but it was a cool way to show how madness can manifest in different ways. So that guy saw an actual person, whereas Logain has these wispies, these black wispies behind him. Unless, of course, Tavern's theory is correct, which, Tavern, why don't you hit us with your theory?
Here we go. This is what I live for. you've already seen certain being in the dreams.
Mhm.
We saw the first male channeler, or we assume he was a channeler. We didn't actually see him channel, being chased by the Reds. Imagined an actual person running with him. That was part of his madness. I honestly think that there's a possibility that these might be Forsaken.
Okay.
Oh.
That's my thought, that are whispering things in his ear. I don't think that they've broken free yet, which is why they're not full. But I think that it possibly could be Forsaken, kind of they're putting their mark on stuff.
Okay. Well, you heard it here
That's
first.
interesting.
You heard it here first. If you end up being right, then we are gonna be, pretty impressed, I think, with you. Okay, so I feel like that we pretty much covered the cold open, unless anybody has any more things.
Do
While
we
you
have a
guys are talking,
scoreboard
I'm-
so that everyone can like keep score for which the predictions come true? Like there should be like a hash
Be
mark.
amazing.
No.
I
Amazing.
was on the Steppen is Elias train before we and show
I
watchers
remember
that
that.
have not read the books do not know who Elias is. He's a character, and I'm not going to explain him because I'm not going to spoil anything. But he's a fun character we get in the first book, and there were reasons that I thought that might be Steppen. They might have just like conflated the two characters. After this episode, I don't think that's probably what's happening, but it could. But so yeah, that's one that I guessed and was really excited about, and I'm like, I don't think so.
I'm gonna be a little bit weird. I'm gonna be a little bit real weird for a second, but I need some light. It's too dark. I don't know what the hell's happening. Just give me a second.
I mean, you do you, man.
Let's continue.
You're fine. You're fine. All right, so let's move on then, shall we? We were going to start after the cold open. We're going to talk about the Grinwell Farm, because Rand and Matt once again had a very unique and incredibly engaging storyline. I mean, am I right, Winespring? What did you...
Super good.
Right? Like tell me about your experience watching this whole, like, these scenes with them.
So I really focused on Tom in these scenes the most,
Mm-hmm.
and his very subtle acting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a theory that I want to share. Maybe maybe I'm
Okay.
right. So let's see. Okay, so the scene where they're this one, yeah. Okay, so you have it up.
Got it up.
And I just saw it because my system's like super slow over here.
No, you're
So,
fine.
so this is where, yeah, so Matt, puts his hands behind his back to get the dagger ready to, defend himself if necessary against this farmer with a bow. And Tom's about to step in, but then Rand actually does. And it's this moment where Tom notices Rand stepping in that really stood out to me. And so then fast forward to the barn when Tom and Rand are having a conversation about Matt and Owen. When I listen to Tom talk about Owen, I hear Rand, not Matt. I think Tom is trying to relate to Rand and put Rand on like a path of protector over Matt to like help control him, because he's the one that can channel. Because Tom is very smart, and having been with Owen, he's going to be able to read those cues better, I think, than anybody.
And you're
And,
saying,
yeah, so I-
and you're saying, we think Rand can channel because of the Iron Door debacle of Breed
Yes.
Spring or whatever.
Yes. So that's what we see in the show. But we also see when he steps in and is like, you don't want to do that. Like,
These are
the
not
guy
the
didn't.
droids
Like,
you're looking for.
Like it changed, it totally changed. Like he redirected. You even hear right before it happens, you hear like a wind, like go back and listen. And it's, yeah, like I think Tom is kind of picking up on that. So he's using Matt as a way to connect with Rand, but I think he thinks that Rand is a channeler, not Matt.
I like that. So he's sneaking.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I did not consider
Tom is
that.
smart, y'all.
He's
Yeah.
Tom is
And he's
on point.
sneaky. He's very like
Yes.
sly. So
Mhm.
yeah,
that is a really cool.
politically savvy, right?
Yes, like that's what it looks like a game to me. Like he knows how to play.
So Marin, tell me, Tom is different, and the chat is reflecting like we've got a different Tom in the show than we do in the books, and I completely agree.
Yep.
He's different. I think I might prefer show Tom over book Tom personally. I find him to be roguish, hot. Just like very engaging, very smart, even though the other Tom was very smart. Marin, what do you think about the difference? Do you like the difference? Do you not like the difference? Do you like them both? Like, hit me with your opinions here.
Well, I can understand from the show a little bit better how he's such a ladies' man.
Yes.
Like not that Sam Elliott types are not ladies' men, because, he can get people pretty warm. But what I'm saying is, just his whole manner of being just screams Tom. It screams this sort of like a bit of world weariness, knowing things other people don't know, enjoying gathering information and enjoying being the center of attention when he wants to be. I mean, and seriously, how brass do his parts have to be to go into that inn, sit down in the middle and tell like a sad, depressing, let's, jump out a window kind of song to a bunch of miners? I'm like, that's ballsy, and I'll say it.
He does what he wants. Tom does.
He does. He
You
does.
don't want.
Not to mention, Tom in, gosh, what do we have? I've got like an action shot that's pretty chaotic, but wait, what are we doing here? We've got the fade. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to show you guys this. We've got the fade holding something. What is that fade holding, by the way? Is that a sword?
It's his sword.
It's his sword.
That's
Okay.
his sword. Yeah.
And Tom, you mentioned the balls on Tom, and let's just put that out there. Like, this kind of happened in the book, not in the same way, not in the same location. Same vibe, though, where Tom sacrifices himself, essentially, to get the boys out and get them safe. And this scene was awesome. And, like, the way that Tom moved was so, so good. Tavern, like, I know that you really liked this, because we talked about it earlier. Like, what are your thoughts on this scene?
So, we're just talking about Tom straight out, complete. His balls are the size of what's that thing? Well, it's a spoiler in the books. I can't talk about it. The giant statue.
Okay. A giant statue.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Like the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
Like the Statue of
the size
Liberty.
of the Statue of Liberty, sure.
So, guy immediately sees the fade, and his first thought is, "Let me check a dagger at it."
Yeah.
Right. And then
Instincts,
obviously,
man.
the fade,
Totally.
the fade disappears in the shadow, pops up on another one. He gets the boys out of the way, and he starts fighting freaking fade. And the fade is super fast. They did a great job with that, and he's matching it stroke for stroke. In that fight scene, I know, Kritter, your favorite part is the kick.
I do love the kick.
I know your favorite part is the
I
kick.
love the kick.
But in that
There it
fight
is. There it
scene,
is. We've got a kick.
It's tough to see because it was a blur, but yeah, it's there. In that fight scene, my boy went through 5 daggers.
5.
Whipped out
Count
5 daggers. Threw and counted them all. The ones he threw, the ones he dropped. 5.
I bet.
So, yeah.
I bet there were way more than where that came from. Marin, what were you gonna say?
Sure.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think what was really clever of the script writers was that if we hadn't had Tom talk about Owen before all of this happened, my big question would have been, why the hell is he not running out the door and letting the boys handle it? Because up until that moment, you get a sense of Tom as being in it for himself.
That's true.
And then he tells the story about Owen, and it kind of explains why he's developed this sort of like soft spot for these 2 crazy boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of developing a soft spot for these 2 crazy boys, I'm gonna pull up a photo that once again shows that Matt is the cutest thing ever. And someone in the chat, Sunlover813 says, at first I thought Matt killed the kids. And we're talking about this sweet, you know what, I'm cutting off little girls, so I need to fix this. This sweet little girl with the Brigitte doll is, and she ends up dying, and I hate it. But
Can we talk about that real quick before we move past that?
the Brigitte doll?
Yeah, like
dying.
on the ground.
Let's see.
Okay. So the scenes, I believe, right before that are with, is it Ela? Is that her name?
Isla,
Yeah,
I believe.
Isla?
Isla,
Okay.
yeah.
Ela or Isla? Okay.
Isla.
Just want to make sure
I think it's Isla.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay. So thank you, Isla. So she is sharing this story about her daughter and her daughter's body on the ground where she finds it. And then we, go into this whole scene with Matt, and then we leave with this body on the ground. It's just really tragic. Like, I don't know, bookends there. I couldn't help but notice.
And I'm not gonna. I didn't notice that either. You're so good at just like reading into like symbology and stuff. I'm over here like drop kick, yes, you know what I mean? And you're like, ooh, yeah, it reflects in this way.
I hear you, and I'm all, ooh, pretty colors.
Right,
Yeah.
We balance out really well, you guys.
If you're a book reader, though, some might say that Brigitte doll landing on the ground is symbolic of something that happens
For
later,
sure.
and that's all I'm
For
going to
sure.
say about that. Tavern, did you have something you wanted to say?
Going back to what Winespring was saying, wasn't lost. I absolutely, saw the connection between the story and what happened, and to top that off, the young girl, I can't remember. It's not Elsie. They said it's something else. I forgot.
Greta or something?
I think, yeah. She wasn't even with the family. She was outside by herself, which adds to the story that Isla's daughter was away from her family when she got taken out too. So they do a lot of stuff like this. These connections are just insane. So more power to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you for all of those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love the symbology. We love it all, and we love Matt. Helga, thank you. Greta was wrong, but it's close.
Helga, okay.
It's pretty close.
Helga.
Are we gonna mention Matt's mouth herps?
I think we're 100% gonna mention Matt's mouth herps. We got multiple pictures of Matt with his mouth herps, so let's just pull
Or
one
Matt.
up.
No judgment, Matt.
Dang, the horror imagery. Tavern. Thoughts?
Okay, so in the look, I got light. What the hell happened to my camera? But the imagery in this is amazing because didn't get this in the books, right? There really is no spoilers here. All we got in the books was he was sick. He just looked sick. His eyes were a little sunken in or whatever. This takes that to a whole new level. He's got something growing inside of him or living inside of him. Very, I keep going MCU references, but very Venom-like.
Yeah.
It just adds that much more grossness to the vial that is, Shadar Lagoth. It's incredible. They've done a great job.
So we got Wheel Up Time in the chat, by the way. Hello. Thank you for stopping by. And everyone who's in the chat, we love that you're here. This is amazing. Feel free to ask questions. Mashadar mouth, MJ Daniel. I love that.
Shadar mouth.
That is much better than what do we like, Matt herpes? I like Mashadar mouth much better.
Let's do mouth herpes is not as good as Mashadar mouth.
Definitely not as thematic.
Do we think that him vomiting like signaled to the Fade like exactly where they are? Because you see it go into the ground, and so then he's there.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know, but I think there's a couple things that are worth noting further in this scene specifically. Like the Fade shows up, right? And we don't know how. Presumably it's tracking maybe the evil from Shatter Logoth, and maybe that is the last signal that gets set off. But then we have the scene. Rand wakes up from the dream. Matt is in there already, looking real creepy with Mashadar mouth and everything. and then the like, I see you, and he's holding the dagger. Notably, the dagger does not have blood on it. So our boy Matt is not a murderer, I hope. But man, that scene was awesome. The way the Fade moved, I don't know. Marin, this didn't happen this way in the books. Did you like it? Did you like this? No? I hated it.
No, I loved it. Honestly, I wasn't particularly married to how this scene happened in the books because, it was one of those, I'm like, oh, that's really tragic. This happened. I'm going to look away now. But in the show, I was mesmerized because you see, Matt's back and he's pointing at something saying, I see you. And it's like, who is he seeing? Because you don't see him. And you're like, is he talking about the people behind him? Is he, and then when the Fade pops up and Tom yells about it, and then the Fade comes in from the side and it's all very fast moving. But the feeling of relief I had when I was, okay, Matt didn't kill all these people. And I would have been very unhappy with the show if he had, I'll be honest.
I was worried the first time I saw it. I think the second time I saw it, didn't notice. I was like, I can't believe this might have happened. And now I feel like an idiot. Like he was literally holding a dagger up, and I think they zoomed in on the dagger, and the dagger didn't have blood on it. So
the dagger was zoomed in on first, and then they cut to this. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was
So,
my
so I
bad.
think they handled it brilliantly. They really did.
Mhm.
And Tom, is he going to win the fight against the Fade? Honestly, probably not. I mean, book readers know the answer to this, but in the show, and because it's the show, it could have a different ending than what it had in the books. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how this all gets resolved.
Oh, Roger
Yes,
Duran, that's a
same.
really interesting comment. The Fade hides from Matt and the dagger. So whenever Rand walked in, and the Fade had already done a lot of damage, and Matt was standing there as if, and I didn't think about it this way, he cornered the Fade, and the Fade didn't want to fight Matt. I love that. I hadn't noticed that before. But then, of course, like, Rand and Matt come in, and the Fade's like, well, goddamn, I got to do something. You know what I mean? And that's when things that's when things kick off.
He's losing his Fade cred.
Literally, he's like, oh man, I got to get out of here.
Pay me in souls.
Super
for
interesting, though.
Yeah, I didn't
what I
think
get paid for.
I did not think about that, but that's so true. And also, like, there's the element of Matt possibly waking up and being able to sense another form of evil, right? Because there's always this balance, this give and take, this push and pull between the evils of Shadar Logoth, or whatever that evil is, and then the evil of the Dark One, and that's persistent throughout the series. And this kind of hinted at that, because it's like, why did Matt wake up? Why did he know where the Fade was? And it's got something to do with, it's a little magic-y. It's a little magic-y, in my opinion. So yeah, are we good on Matt and Rand? I feel like I loved this. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to bring up one last thing with Matt. Throughout the show, there's been progress, right? He was being a jerk to Rand in episode 3. We start off this episode when they first cut to them. Horse is shying away from him that he's riding, which is odd because Matt is a pretty good horseman. We have the bile coming out of his mouth, of course. We have the issue with the shade. But they're showing us things that they only alluded to in the books. For example, they always said in the books, and this isn't a spoiler because we've already seen it in the show, but they always said, oh, they say fades can travel between shadows. Later on in the books, you finally see that happen, but in the beginning, they only talk about it as a legend. And here they're showing us he literally vanished into a shadow and popped out of another one. Have to explain it, they just showed it, and it was amazing. So yeah, the evil, the way they're dealing with evil in the show is incredible, and they're amping it up. Like every episode, it's just growing, which is cool.
Fully into it. And Sun Lover, your question: how long before Tom comes back? Let's poll the panelists here. What do we think? I think based on the episodes that we know Tom is in, he was only supposed to be in 2, and so he's gone for season 1. That's what I think. I hate it. I hate it. But I think he's gone for season 1. I guess the question is he coming back at all? Obviously, we hope so. And I think he will, because why would you give up that character? Because he's incredible. So my guess is season 2. I think we're going to get people out in the world on fun expeditions, and they're going to somehow run into Tom, which happens, I think, more than once in the books. So like they all kind of like separate from Tom and then run into him in an inn somewhere. And so that's what I think. I'm guessing season 2. Tavern, what do you think?
2. He's done for this season, and very much parallels events in the book. Although like you said before, locations different or whatever. But yeah, we won't see him until season 2.
And I think we'll see him later in season 2 as opposed to earlier.
And a half,
I think you might be right.
which is amazing.
Sooner rather than later. I'm a big fan of Tom. You might have noticed.
Sooner than later,
Sooner the
please.
better.
Love Tom. He's one of my favorite characters, and it sucks, but it works perfectly the way they're doing it in the show.
Okay, so I think this is a good time to answer another question look at me dealing with my cord, like conducting this stream. Anyways, Wheel Up Time asks the question: what do we think the intro sequence prologue of episode 5 will be? My guess is we are on the verge of getting to Tarvalin. That's my right, because everybody's kind of headed there. So part of me thinks it'll be something to do with an Aes Sedai. And I know that's so vague. I have no idea. Honestly, I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
Do we know the title? Does anyone know the title of the episode?
Yeah, it's on the page. I don't have it up in front of me right now, though.
If somebody in the chat
In
knows
chat
it,
even?
let us know. 'Cause
Please. That would help.
that
They-
would-
they-
that would help.
There's a pattern. There is a pattern to how they do intros
Okay.
to some extent. So episode 1 ended with them taking off. Episode 2 started with the White Cloaks, and then cut straight to them riding, through the woods. And then with them separated, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I forgot how 3 started. No, 3 started
It's
with
Nynaeve with a knife.
It's Nynaeve and her pool thing, which is basically how 2 ended.
It's Blood Calls Blood. That's the title.
The next one is?
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna say episode 5 starts with Nynaeve and Lane having a baby.
Great. Good prediction. I love it.
I'm just
Marin,
kidding.
what do you
I'm
think?
Nah.
I honestly have no idea, but I think it would be interesting if they centered on, a cold open of Matt doing something with the dagger.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this next episode is going to be a bit Matt heavy
okay.
because there's just so many like loose ends and there's so many directions it could go,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
which is okay because he's fascinating to watch.
he is fast.
Matt heavy
Yes.
in what way though?
I don't know. I pulled it out of the air.
Oh, you're good, you're good.
I mean,
I'm
it's one of
following
those
you. I'm
things
just trying to figure
where
out.
no, I agree. No, it's just that Matt's journey. I mean, in the books we get he's sick, and they don't understand why he's sick until they get to Tarvalin,
Mhm.
and I think that because of the journeys everyone else is taking, they're going to have to cut in more of the journey. I mean, obviously there's some things that they cut out. But, there's still a number of characters they have yet to encounter. And I just think that, and those are really interesting things, because there's Matt getting worse and worse and worse. And, Rand, starts having issues as well. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they put all that together.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's going to be like a Rand Matt episode.
I love the
Yeah.
Rand Matt dynamic, so I'm so into that. Winespring, did
Or
we
a-
get your prediction yet? Or
No.
No? Okay.
So I was thinking of the quote Moraine says about their blood preparing them for what is to come.
Mhm.
And so blood calling blood, maybe they are going to finally be reconnected with each other.
Ooh. I
Oh.
like it.
Like all of Manethrin being pulled together.
I like it.
No,
like
like
it.
the Emmonsfield 5, like
That's what I'm
maybe
talking
I
about.
don't-
The other
Oh,
four
okay,
have
so I wasn't
Manethrin-
sure
yeah.
if it's
well,
too
they all
soon
have
for
Manethrin
that.
blood, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. Oh, I understand better now. Yes.
I guess
interesting.
I guess we'll see. I don't know. It's so
Hope
funny
that
because
happens.
some of the cold opens have been so random. Like the one for the first episode, no one could have predicted that. And so that I have this
that's
feeling
true.
that might be what a biled open, cold open. Next episode will be Perrin Egwene Heavy says Claude Complex. I would be so down for a biled open, cold open. Show exclusive watchers that haven't read the books don't know who that is, but he is a fan favorite with the best accent of all time. Biodoman do be incredible, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, so we gotta move
Do you
on.
want to do a poll?
Really quick
Do a
though,
poll? Oh, go
and
ahead.
somebody pointed this out on the Twitch stream that Blood Calls Blood was part of Padden Fane, and
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
Okay.
I think we might see shout out to Sun Lover,
Sun Lover.
Sun Lover.
Yay,
Thank you for
Sunlover.
this. But I think seeing Padden Fane would be a really interesting thing next episode.
I agree because
They should be nearby, maybe.
Blood Calls
For
Blood
some
was
reason.
that I'm just gonna say written on the walls in blood, if I recall, in some scene in some location. No
Ooh.
spoilers.
Oh, wait a minute.
The no spoilers part.
Yes, good memory.
But
Wait a minute. Does that mean that we might be visiting that location? This season?
that seems early, but this season maybe. This season maybe. All right, we got to move on. We got to get off this train because it's exciting to speculate. But there were so many things that happened in this episode that talking about the next episode is for next week. At the
True.
Wheel and Chill show, which happens every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And
And
okay,
all the cool
Central.
kids will be here.
Central.
all the cool kids, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Aram, we're talking Egwene and Perrin and the Tinkers, right? This guy is a fun
I love
actor
this
to
guy.
watch. Daryl
Mhm.
McCord. Yeah, okay, here we go. We got Marin over here.
Yeah, Marin.
He's
Calm
all
down.
right.
Sweating. Marin, do you like Aram at this point?
He's so charming
He
and
is.
lovely, and I love his sense of humor, and I love that he tweaks Perrin and Egwene. I love his character so far.
Yeah, me too. Me
He's
too.
pretty amazing.
He's like on the level of Dana, but not quite. I mean, Dana was like mind-blowing new character. Oh my gosh, I can't believe she's here and she's amazing. Aram is like somebody I expected who was supposed to be really engaging, and man, he nailed it. You know, he did exactly
Nails
what he
it.
was supposed to do.
Mhm.
So
I love that
Yeah,
they've
the
expanded
subtle acting's wonderful.
it is.
they've expanded on some of these characters from the books in just such a much better way. Like, you know, Aram and then or Aram, some of the other minor characters that have just ballooned into such incredible scenes on on screen. It's just great.
Yeah, yeah. I like him a lot. The Wild Gardenia says they're making me love Aram and Alana. I know we haven't even gotten to Alana, but man, I have
Yes.
I have such love for her in this.
Mhm.
So we've got Aram. He flirts with Egwene. We actually get something interesting from him that I mentioned in my YouTube video. It was his comments about the only old people and the youngsters believe in the song. And then he also mentions that Tinkers basically have like a Rumspringa concept when they turn 20, where they go out into the world and some of them even pick up arms. so now I'm over here like, how old are you, Aram? Are you about to turn 20? Are you about to? What are you? Like, so yeah, because I love him so much, I'm like excited about that possibility that he's going to be out in the wild a little bit more. Marin, did you like him in the books as a character, or at this point, I guess?
Well, with this, I love the fact that, he was described as a flirt in the books, a smile like Will Alcine's from Eamon's Field, and that, and Perrin twigged Egwene about, this chemistry that they had. So I really liked him, but one of the things that made him interesting in the books was that even from the beginning, he was kind of chafing against the life his grandparents had led. And I wonder if that's because, his own mother was killed. He doesn't remember her, but he feels that loss, of course.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if he's thinking, well, man, if she had a knife or something, maybe she wouldn't be dead. And maybe that's part of the reason he's chafing against it so much.
Yeah. There's some real emotion behind those eyes. Let's put it that way. There's a lot going on with Aram. He's a deep guy. So
It's very realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. Roger Dern in the chat says, I love the talk between Perrin and Isla. That brought me to tears. And I think you're right. I think this plot, the Tinkers plot, was nice. Obviously not as exciting as the others, because the others were really cool in their own ways. But it was emotional. Egwene didn't have a ton to do. Basically, she was like flirting with Aram and that was about it. But Perrin has this battle going on between, like learning about the way of the leaf and how absurd it seems in such a violent place. And then Isla explains to him like why she believes in it and like what her plan is with it. And that scene for me was, she nailed it. And I know, Marin, you said that you really enjoyed this scene. So like, talk about it a little bit. I want to see some tears.
Enjoy is not the right word, because I was bawling through this whole scene. And I get choked up just talking about it. So if you have to jump in, don't mind me. If I'm over here crying in the corner in the fetal position, it's fine. But this, Isla having lost a daughter to violence and losing a child, and what kept her going wasn't because, she had a grandchild she was taking care of, or, what was keeping her going was her faith in the wheel, that she can continue this way of the leaf because she's determined to make the world better for when her daughter's soul is spun back out. And that went through me because, isn't that what a lot of us hope for when we lose people we love? That we will see them again someday, that their life continues on even if we can't see them with us. And now I'm getting all weepy, but
Yes,
it just
absolutely.
it was so powerful. And, she's a wonderful actress. I've seen her in some other things and been absolutely mesmerized, but she just knocked this one out of the park.
She did.
It's a very selfless way to live. You're doing something that you're never going to see the rewards for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way that conversation started, Nim Heathrill, your comment, talk about the Maria Kondo moment when Perrin was fixing the wheel and that it brings him joy or you find peace in the work. I mean, I guess to add a little moment of levity that is very Maria Kondo.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, that was nice, and I think Tavern, you noted something about that little situation, didn't you?
I did. It was talked about this before where, Perrin picked up the axe and Layla picked up the hammer. And then Matt discussed the fact that Layla made tools, not weapons. And everything with Layla and the hammer was about peace. And I found it interesting that the first thing she said, well, actually two things. When she was trying to recruit him to the Way of the Leaf, she said, have you ever picked up a sword, a knife, or an axe? And when there was a pause, she immediately picked up on the fact that he paused at axe. Did that axe ever do anything good, ever bring you any kind of joy? And then we end up in this scene where he's hammering Axel, and she says, the honor is that it brings you peace.
Mm-hmm.
Again, alluding to the fact that the axe represents peace for him. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, we love time actually comments something that I think is true. I totally agree, and I want to see Winespring what you think about this. But he says the whole concept of reincarnation never really sank in with him until the last couple of episodes of the show. I agree with this. I feel like the show, in the limited amount of time that it has to introduce you to this universe, has done an excellent job building the world, including the concept of the wheel and reincarnation. And this Isla speech was one of the things that really did that. Winespring, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it totally goes back to what I mentioned with the Brigitte doll on the ground. And, just the scene before talking about her daughter on the ground. And reincarnation obviously plays into all of these the images that we're being given here. And I think it is incredibly powerful what she has chosen, like the purpose for her life is now after her daughter's death.
Right.
She is going to make not just like their world, like her mission's to make like the wheel better. That sounds fun. Yeah. Like by the time her daughter gets back, it's going to be better because she's going to make sure it's better. And I love that the emphasis on the power of our choices, her words, and how they can affect people and guide them in a certain way, to make that purpose, that goal happen.
Her words especially, because man, I would listen to her talk all day.
Her voice is amazing.
Beautiful.
Oh my God, her voice is
beautiful.
incredible.
I know, if she were running a cult, I would be so
like, sign me up, man. Give me the Kool-Aid right now.
The whole reincarnation thing actually goes back to an interview that Rafe did, where he said, how do you go about finding the Dragon Reborn? And he goes, we looked at it as if we were trying to find the Dalai Lama reincarnated.
Ooh. Loved that. Yes.
I was like, when I saw that, and after listening to that and then seeing the episodes, they're hitting it right on the head. It's perfect.
Yeah.
They're doing such an outstanding job. Yeah.
Roger Duran on YouTube, you're right. Favorite quote, one of the favorite quotes so far for me too, is what greater revenge to violence than peace? What greater revenge to death than life? Gosh, she could literally, I just want her to talk like, I want to listen to a podcast that she does, just like doing like philosophical platitudes. Like, just give them to me. I'll listen. I'll fall asleep. It'll be beautiful. So
somebody
she's
needs
using
to do
such violent
screensavers
words
with pretty, with pretty backgrounds, the screensavers.
Ooh,
so we
I
can
love
just
that.
all have that.
So I guess before we move on, we have to at least put Egwene on the screen one time because she's my favorite character, and also because I feel like they're doing a little bit with her and Perrin. There's more of this like lingering looks. What's Perrin up to? Oh my gosh, I'm flirting with Aram. Blah blah blah. And that kind of goes back to our last episode, Winespring, where you're like, is it jealousy? We're not sure what's going on with Perrin, Egwene, Layla, and Rand, and that whole maybe love square. I don't know.
Love square.
So I just wanted to, basically Egwene's role in this was that, to just kind of bounce off of Perrin and Aram. So I just wanted to point that out. Does anybody else have anything to say about Egwene before we move on?
This was actually my favorite with Egwene. So I know, like, it was very fast. She's had amazing things happen every episode. But her observation that she makes to Iran while they're dancing about, are you sure you haven't found the song? And she looks around at all of this
That was nice.
peace and interaction. I thought that really showed, like, her mental acuity, you know, her ability to observe, you know, and respond. I loved it. I can't wait to see more of that from her.
Line.
Yeah,
That was a great
that
line.
was awesome. And I see a lot of what she's doing with Perrin is more sisterly. You know,
Okay.
if you're concerned about your sibling, you're always, you know, kind of checking up on them and, you know, is everything okay? Are they okay? They're kind of sitting in the back of your head. And that's kind of how I read it, but you know, there's lots of room for interpretation.
There really is.
So also the Perrin and Egwene back the closest to the books.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I agree with
even to
that.
some of the wording, like when she says, if either one of us don't like something, we'll just go. That is, I want to say verbatim from the books, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
She
That
also
line was
says it
right
as
from
he
the books.
brings up not being comfortable.
I know. So she's basically
I'm
like,
just saying, it's
like,
still Egwene.
that seemed obvious. That seemed pretty obvious that he maybe wanted to go, but then maybe not. Because, like, obviously there's it's this or the highway. I also just wanted to say, Fizzle Gig on Twitch. You finally found a Wheel of Time stream. Welcome. We're here
This
every
is the Wheel of Time stream.
every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Be here or be square. And since this is a wheel, that would be pretty messed up. Can I delete
Yes.
that from the stream? That was horrible. Okay.
Do it. Do it.
That was amazing.
That was bad. I just came up with it. All right, so let's
Wheel square stream.
we don't want a square stream. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go big now. With my favorite plot, I feel like probably everyone's favorite plot. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Everyone's like, all right, let's do this. Nynaeve's plot, which also includes Moraine and Lan and
they're in
Alana.
there.
Whew. So I guess before we get into
Leandrin.
Oh, and Leandrin. Yeah. There's so much good stuff. I literally.
Oh my god, yeah.
So let's start with Leandrin, since she is that woman's a snake. Am I right?
Yeah.
She was
Beautiful
so good.
snake.
But those cheekbones could cut glass.
They could, man. She is
The bone
scary.
structure.
Scary in the best way, in my opinion.
In the best way.
Her hair.
Well, and I love Nynaeve's expression in this photo, in this still, because it's literally like she's like, "What the fuck are you even doing here?" Like, just
It's her body
Go.
language.
yeah.
There.
Literally like-
loud. Yes.
I can't even.
I'm gonna
do
say
it.
this. Mentioned it
He's like,
earlier
yeah. Oh,
with
yeah.
Isla and Perrin. Then see recruitment. See Leandrin and the Reds notice Nynaeve and they send Leandrin. And Leandrin's like, "Hey, our red tent is open to anybody. Come on
not
in, we
anybody.
got cookies.
Women.
Yeah.
She
Women.
said
yeah.
women.
The women got cookies. You know."
I don't know, guys. I don't know if she was actually interested in Nynaeve in that way and inviting her to the tent thing until Nynaeve asked about Moraine. That's when we saw like an actual like response on her face. Like she was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're asking questions. Let's do this."
Haven't addressed it in the show yet, except for one comment that Lan made, which was we're talking about Logain, whether Egwene was as strong as Logain, which hasn't happened on screen, which was an interesting comment. So I'm wondering if the Reds sense anything.
Maybe.
That's why maybe.
Maybe. Also, yeah, Fizzlegig, good comment. Like the however it's pronounced with Nynaeve's name. Hilarious. I feel like every book reader who read that
Yeah.
or who heard
She
that
call
was
her?
like, that is amazing. Because if
Oh,
there,
Nineveh, what was it?
it was a commonly pronounced way that Nynaeve was pronounced. Like I remember it was
Nynaeve?
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve,
That's
I
it.
think it was
That's one of the
Nynaeve,
biggest
yeah.
like mistaken pronunciations. But like everyone who read the books had their way of pronouncing Nynaeve, and it probably wasn't Nynaeve. Mine was Nineveh. And so like
Nineveh. Oh, I love
isn't
it.
that beautiful? I think it's
Yes.
prettier than Nynaeve. But yeah, like we all related to that, even though I know Leandrin was doing it to be a shit. Or yeah, there's no way you're like, I'm gonna mispronounce your name to introduce myself, like without having some kind of ill intent, I think. But yeah.
Nimhithril on Twitch said it was the best moment since Hermione in Harry Potter.
Hermione, yeah.
Hermione.
How did she know? How did she know her
Hermione.
name though?
I mean,
It's a small camp.
it's a small camp.
It's a
Yeah.
small camp, but
I'm just-
Probably somebody said, Nynaeve, stop staring at me like that. Put your dagger away, Nynaeve.
yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up another. So we love.
When Lan was like, "You're welcome to our fire, just don't shove anyone in," I'm like, I want that on a T-shirt. You know,
Yes.
I didn't think about
Incredible
that. That would be
comment.
a perfect T-shirt.
So good.
So another Aes Sedai that we met, or right, we met her, Alana, this episode. We stan, and it's a hard thing to do if you're a book reader, and I'm not gonna say why, but because she's complicated. She's a complicated character, and cool in very many ways, including how
Super.
much of a freaking stud she is. Also, look at that
She is.
outfit. Like, I would wear that. I think of all the outfits.
Me too.
Hers is probably
I'm
my
gonna try this one
favorite.
next.
I think I want to do that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
is this spoilers in chat? I didn't address this before. We try to stick to the show exclusively. If we're gonna talk spoilers, we mark them ahead of time. So avoid big book spoilers if you would in the chat. And that's it. That's our request for you. So yeah, Alana.
talk about it later when we have time.
Yeah. She's fabulous. She's amazing. Her conversation with Moraine, I also really liked. The whole like, what was the name of the dog?
I have a theory about the dog.
Oh, let's
Yes.
do it. Okay.
Oh, here we go. I know this.
I don't think
I've
it was
heard
a
this.
dog. I don't. I
Okay.
think that was Swan, possibly someone else. I don't know. A human being,
Little pillow friend.
a pillow friend.
Pillow
Okay.
friend. You think it was a pillow friend?
Because
named-
you know,
Codename
Aes Sedai
Jenny.
cannot lie.
named-
Aes Sedai
Codename
cannot lie, and Moraine disavowed owning the dog, and
I don't
You
think she
know-
did she? She said
Yeah,
novices
not her
aren't
dog.
allowed
yeah,
to have a dog.
Pets.
She didn't say it. Did she not say
Oh.
that it wasn't my dog, or did she?
she did say she did.
I don't think
I'm
she
pretty
said
sure she said
dogs.
it pretty directly.
I think she said dog. I think she said we're not allowed to have pets or something like that.
Yeah.
Say the
Oh
word
my
dog.
gosh! Now I'm gonna have to pull up the transcript and look.
I'm
but
sorry. That's what I thought she said, because it's like, yeah, she's of course skating around it, like, you know,
Yeah.
novices aren't allowed to have pets. Like, okay, Moraine. But that's an interesting. Yeah, I love that Swan codename Jenny the dog.
Hey. Oh, what love it.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
And then I got lots of spoilery types of things along with that, but so I'm not going to say them until we can put this like on the board to say this is my prediction, and we'll see if I'm right.
Okay, we'll
We're
do
thinking
it.
about. Are we
going-
going to do a spoiler corner at the end?
We're doing a spoiler
Little
corner
more-
at the very end, so
Okay.
we'll hold off all of these comments for that. Well, the spoilers will be at the end. I'll throw up a flag, and then it'll be fair game. So yeah. And
Now let's focus on Battle Queen here.
I know. Well, we kind of like
She's amazing.
amazing. I loved the battle. I saw people online complaining about like, oh, it was very CW, and I was like, what CW show is that? Because I want to watch it, right?
I would definitely watch that.
Seriously,
It's
and
not
the
there.
power of every single Aes Sedai that was there. So I mean, yeah, the Battle Aja is showing up and they're doing their thing, but it wasn't just the Green Aja that was, you know, throwing hands in
spelling
all
it,
of
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
You know,
was
and
spelling
one
it, yeah.
thing
Mhm.
you pointed out something interesting about the warders, Tavern, about when
Agreeing.
they're doing the Aes Sedai. They're doing the Aes
They're
Sedai thing. The
fighting.
warders understand it and they turn their heads.
So
Right.
Yeah.
To keep
throughout the
the-
scene, when the Aes Sedai are doing their attacks, especially if there's going to be an explosion, a lot of times you'll see the warders turn their backs so that they don't get sprayed in the face. It happens and they flip back around. So yeah, they're very synchronized in their battles. Also, you brought up this picture.
Mhm.
I don't know if that is Alana. I want to say it kind of looks like her cuffs, but I'm not sure. Because if it is, she's battling and healing. That's insane. But you notice that none of the green down because they had warders, and yet here's the red laying on her back, taking it easy because they don't like the guys. I'm just saying. You get what you get.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I don't know. She looks injured
She
from
put our
battle.
female
I don't know if
warders,
that's
'cause I
laying
think the
there.
Reds
No,
would
no,
get
she
into
got
that.
shot twice. She got shot with 2 arrows. She got shot with
Yeah.
2 arrows. But I'm just
Sending
saying, I
helping
was
people.
joking about the fact that she doesn't have a warder, which is. See the
And
green
too bad
going down.
they don't have any female warders because then maybe the Reds would be okay with it.
Yeah. If we're following the stereotypes that Reds just hate men, not warders specifically, then that would work.
Yes.
Although in the books, just to be fair, in the books we do later on get Reds that don't hate men. I know that in the books for a long time that was the vibe, and I don't love that vibe. I like the whole like suspicious of men because they developed it over the years of like trying to hunt down men who can channel. I get that. It really makes sense for Red Ajah to have warders because they're more out there putting themselves in the line of fire. But we're not going to talk logic because sometimes people don't follow logic. But yeah, it would be cool if they could have female warders or, and I just want everyone to know in advance, anybody who hasn't read the books, that not all Red Ajahs are Leandrin, because we don't love Leandrin, but we do love some later red sisters. That's all I'm saying.
We had a question on Twitch from Miss Bilbo Baggins.
Okay.
She wants to know how good are greens at healing, considering there weren't any yellows around. Whoever that was clearly pretty good at healing, but generally speaking. And my response to that is they're battle Aja, so I'm sure they're going to have some training or some expertise in battle healing, or it's like having medics on the field.
Triage.
Right? They're not going to be doing, they're going to be doing triage. They're not going to be doing surgery.
Yeah.
Slap them back together so they can go fight some more.
Right, because we got Karini also, like, let me assuming that's how you pronounce her name. We got Karini healing Moraine, and Moraine had a pretty wicked Trolloc blade wound that, granted, it had a scar, so, like, maybe we can assume she's not as good at healing as some other people, or the corruption from the Trolloc blade made it so that it was going to have a scar. Like, we don't exactly know how the healing works in the show, because in the books, if you heal something, there's no marks. It's like it's gone. And that's not the case, obviously. In this alone, we find out that that's not the case here. Although, whenever we talk about the thing with Nynaeve, those are gone. Those are straight up off the face of the universe. No scars, nothing.
Different level.
Whole different level of healing. Yeah. So
The
that's
9,000.
Yeah. She's
Winespring, you asked for this shot, right?
I did, yes. I like this shot. I have tried to pay attention to the handwork that they do depending on what action they're trying to channel. And I noticed with healing, especially, it's the right hand down, or directing, maybe. It's a better way of putting it, right hand directing, and then you got the left hand pulling. And so you got a lot of that kind of thing happening. You see that here, and later on with Nynaeve, her instinct, you'll see, like when we show the image, just look like where her hands, like
That's what you were going for. Very sneaky.
Well, and speaking of
Good.
that, I do think it's
Very
interesting that all the Aes Sedai are using hand gestures. Logain didn't need hand gestures. Logain just did his thing.
I loved that. That was one of
in
my
the-
favorite things. Okay, what Tavern?
In the intro, he used his hand slightly. When he was walking up toward the king, he did a little thing with his fist, very, like a couple of fingers moved or something. But he definitely didn't do the gestures that the Aes Sedai are doing. Yeah, it was very subtle.
Yeah, no, I want to just pull this back because I love the concept of channelers who like weren't trained to like, this is throwing a fireball, this is linking. Like the channelers who don't have that in their training, the Wilders they don't need all that. Like Logain's got weaves on weaves on weaves, and he's just like balling, you know what I mean? Like literally just vibing, and that was I love that. That's something I really like about channeling is the fact that that's
whoever
possible.
like designed this, like placed those channels where they are around him. And, oh man,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
Phenomenally done.
I don't see the thing in the flame, but I do see the Ouroboros, right? The snake kind of eating itself with the spinning. That's
It is
kind
kind
of
of
cool.
spirally. I do like that. Also, I haven't been getting my little widgets, so I apologize, but thank you so much for the subs. We've got Marisa Swank, Angel Willis Woodward, Ryan Lane, Caleb, Rebellious Wilder, Luana Arturi, Miss Jill Baggins, and Jace Gordon. You guys are all goats. Thank you for the subs. Sorry, I just wanted to call people out because usually it blings at me, but I think it's because I'm doing a multi-stream. It did not bling at me, and I feel
Hold on,
bad.
I gotta answer somebody here. How do I?
Okay, I said I can't. Gotta go back. Okay, all right. So I guess we didn't talk about this. Nynaeve. We keep talking about Nynaeve and her interactions with people. We didn't really talk about her interaction much with Lan, which was so cute. I think
Yes.
the little praying. We're getting a lot of like religion kind of, like religion in these, which is kind of neat because it's more world building. Marin, how do you feel about this whole little interaction here?
It just warmed the cockles of my cold dead heart. It really did.
That's
You
good.
know,
That's great news.
what I think is interesting is that, there is, in the books even, there is a belief system. And then people have their own interpretations of the wheel and have their own interpretations of the creator and all of the other ways the world works. And I just love this gentle part of Lan that isn't all about the mission, that isn't all about, it's about something that is bigger than himself. It's about remembering his history. Yeah. And that Nynaeve had a practice as well. That, this is, something I say to myself when I'm scared. As a child, I stop saying it, and then he tells her what it means. And my heart breaks because it's so beautiful. And they're so cute. Look how cute they are together. I mean, their babies would be so beautiful.
Episode 5.
Will be, Marin. They will be so beautiful. Let's all cross our fingers. But Fizzlewit Gig, I think you're right here. Lan is the best example of duality, and I think they're doing this better in the show once again than they did in the books. Lan is a human being in the show. He has friends. We saw him like hanging out with Steppen, and Steppen's teasing him, which was great. We've got this like flirt thing with Nynaeve, and can I just, before I forget, say that it devastated me when she's like, or what was it? He was like, and what did you, or no, she was like, and what did you think that was? Whenever he's like, you're exactly what I thought you were. And then the fighting started. We didn't get his answer. Oh my God.
Fight. I was so mad with you.
Fight.
Everyone
I love fights. And I just didn't want it right then.
It was, so yeah, Nynaeve, I'm a big old fan of that.
We're calling it Nynaeve.
That's what I'm calling
I'm in with Nynaeve. Well, it's better than the last one that didn't you have a really horrible ship name?
Agrand or Randween. Nobody likes Randween for some reason. But no, I actually told Daniel Henney that their ship name was Nynaeve, so that better be the ship name, because that's what I said out loud to him in person.
That's what it called. Yeah, we're in it.
Yeah, so cool. So we love Nynaeve and Lan. What do you guys?
And again, her coat is fire. I just have to mention it every time we see it.
So it's lit. It's lit. We love it. Tavern. What about this? We have like 1,000 pictures, and you were the one who pulled all these screenshots. What do you want to talk about next? Like, direct the stream.
I'll touch on what Marin said and what you brought up when you were talking about the whole religious aspect. I love the fact that every separate element that we've seen of some kind of religion or faith or whatever is bound in ceremony involved. The lighting of the lanterns. We have Lan kneeling and doing his ceremony. Nynaeve, even though she doesn't know what the hell it means, does a quick ceremony from her heart, not knowing that it's exactly what it was supposed to be. So all of that is amazing. I did, if you've got the picture of Lan kneeling next to the giant rock.
Yep.
Should be an image there.
Let me pull it up. There we go.
Before everybody says that there's a stretch, you have to watch the scene. But that rock is shaped like the fang. I'm going to put it out there. The back end to his left is the round part, and then the rest of it comes in a curve the opposite side. If you just watch the scene, you'll see it from the different angles. It looks like a fang, which is kind of cool. Also, when he dumps his water, when she walks up and he does it in a circle right where the flame would be, the thick part of the flame, which I thought was really cool too. I don't know if it was on purpose. I just thought it was pretty interesting, the symbology of it.
Yeah.
And as far as their relationship, I have their babies. I'll be a surrogate. I don't care. Whatever. I want to have babies.
I will have your babies.
I'd like to be called Loretta.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of all that. And I guess while we're talking about, like, before we get into the fight, even though we already talked about Elena, I do want to bring up the campfire, the warders. I feel like representation in this show is taking a huge step forward from the books, and I'm here for it. How do you guys
We
feel?
all are.
Winespring?
Loved
Yes,
it.
Your
more.
thoughts? More? Give more. Let's
More
do
of
it.
that, please. Yes.
Okay.
I love
then
all
it
the
was-
little looks. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Hmm.
And it's just very normal, very casual. It's
Mhm.
just
Overt.
it just is. That's unremarkable, and I love that.
And I feel like that kind of harkens back to the conversation with Dana, where she's like, you know, you guys are together, you can make as much noise as you want, and Rand's not like, oh my god, I'm not gay, you know what I mean? He's like, you know, I could do better. Like that was it. It's so casual and normal, and I really appreciate that about the show. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Not only did they normalize, right, homosexuality, right, or the thought of it, or you know, the presence of it, they normalized multi-person relationships. I mean, they kind of joked around when they took off to go with Alana. Kind of, Nynaeve was the only one shocked. Everybody else was, you know, and even she wasn't all that shocked. She found it was like, ooh, you know.
She was kind of amused, even
Naughty.
titillated, like,
Yeah, it was like
what's
naughty.
going on?
We don't see this in the two of us.
But again, it was just done in such a normal, casual way that it was just in this world, you know that it's acceptable, and it was beautiful. I think they did an outstanding job with this.
I think you're right.
Yes.
I think you're right. And
So I do want to say something about the ritual too.
which ritual?
I didn't speak up quick enough.
Land's ritual? Yeah,
Yes.
no, get in there.
Yes.
What's up?
It's the same. It's the same thing with the hand motions. If you look at how he directs also in his moving and touching and kissing his head and these kind of things, it's very similar to what the Aes Sedai are doing with their hands when they are also pulling on energies from themselves and around them. Like he's also doing that. And she does it too, you know, when she kisses and touches the ground and brings it up. Like that is very much like a connection, like an energy moment that they're both having.
No, I have her hands. I don't have his hands. But yeah, we've got lots of hand stuff. Many relevant hand motions. Like hand stuff.
I like the hand stuff.
Well, I guess we can take that into the future. Winespring really likes hand stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. Didn't mean to do that.
It's on the internet forever.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, I think on my YouTube video, I accidentally, but I left it in there. I accidentally said like, yeah, Yosha can sleep in my barn any day. It's like, that sounds really like I meant it in a really different way, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So Nynaeve, we love her. I just want to pull this picture up because it's hilarious, even though we don't need it really for anything necessarily, but somebody's tugging Nynaeve's braid here.
Okay, so that's the fourth stabby. That's Nynaeve's fourth stabby.
Oh,
She
yeah.
stabbed the Trolloc in the first episode. Then she killed the Trolloc in the third episode. She tried to stab Lan in the third episode, and she totally stabbed this dude left and right in this episode. So that's 3 stabbies. Nynaeve, 1 loss. So it's 3. She's 3-1 because Lan stopped her from stabbing him. But yeah, I'm keeping track of the Nynaeve stabbies.
Love it. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that going.
And she did not
good.
hesitate to
No,
stab
None.
this guy. There was
None.
no hesitation.
She was standing ready.
As
Hesitate
Fizzlegeek
to stab the
says,
Trolloc.
Nynaeve will shank a fool.
She will.
There
She
you go.
will. A wool head, I believe, is the terminology we would use in the Wheel of Time. Yeah, so we love that. We love that. I'm just like pulling from these pictures that Tavern pulled, which thank you for that. And one of the best
Welcome.
pictures, one of the most iconic images from the entire episode, we're just gonna hop right into the fire because we've been dancing around it.
Oh,
This. Oh my gosh, Nynaeve goes Super Saiyan and my mind exploded. I got full body chills. I almost teared up. I almost yelled. Well, I think I actually did yell. Tell me about your all's reactions, because I feel like we probably all had similar but probably distinct reactions. Marin, you go first.
I was gasping and sobbing and I've never done that in a show before, to a show. I mean, I usually am kind of like, oh, sad thing happened, you know, and this is not how this was. And I replayed it a few times, just that scene, to go, what is it about this scene that's getting that reaction from me every single time? And I realized it is the actress, you know, Zoe's guttural no that is coming from the depths of her soul it just, how can you hear that and not be moved?
So amazing. Tavern, what about you?
More questions than I have answers right now.
Let's do that. Bring it on. What are your questions?
Okay, so one, amazing. Her going nuclear. Did I say nuclear?
You did.
I
Wow.
did a GW Butch.
We'll mock you later, though.
Nuclear. Whatever. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Big boom.
Nuclear.
Nuclear. That's what I. Damn it! Why can't I say that? Nuclear.
It's fine.
Anyways,
You're fine.
so when it took me by surprise, right? And I was like, this is incredible writing. Is it different from the books? Yes, this is by far the furthest from the books. We had, Egwin and Perrin was closest, Rand and Matt, same vibe, different location. This was completely out of left field, and they did a phenomenal job. So I question when I saw this, or after I calmed the hell down because it was incredible, was she got angry. She blew up. So does this mean we're going to get that track where she can only do it if she gets angry?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That's what I was thinking. Also, in this image right here, she looks like the diva from Fifth Element. But
oh my gosh.
That's neither here nor there. You're welcome. But yeah, so that's my question. I don't know if she's going to be able to do it on command.
I mean, straying into book spoilers territory, it would make sense if she could not. And I'll leave it at that. We have an interesting question. No, I mean, I was doing it. I think that you're onto something. Clearly, this is tied to her emotions. She's never done it before. She's extremely emotional, and it happened. So there's a link without question. We've got Miss Jilbo Baggins on Twitch asking, did Nynaeve's power push away Logain's channeling because when the camera goes to him, his black weave dissipates? I was under the impression that he was shocked, realized that there are people out there who maybe could also be the Dragon Reborn that are not him, and he was blown away by the display of power and just lost it. You know what I mean? His concentration was broken, whatever, and he just lost connection. That was my interpretation. Winespring, it sounds like you may agree.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think it was like shock and awe moment for everybody, including Logain and us on the other side of the screen watching.
Yeah.
I definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Marin.
No.
I was just nodding.
She's just really nodding. She totally agreed.
I definitely agree that it was shock at seeing someone stronger than him, because up until now, he had two Aes Sedai shielding him. He was that powerful, which again goes back to the land question from Moraine. He is strong as Egwene. So if Nynaeve can do this and freak out him, we still haven't seen anything, because we don't they haven't really gone to it. But that was a question in the show. But I think it truly was shock that it was just someone so much more powerful than he, which goes to what he says, right, about the Raging Sun comment.
Yeah, I feel like that could be problematic, because in the books, that would have a lot of implications on the show being different than the books, because Nynaeve is not more powerful than Logain. Logain is up there. Well, Logain is up there. Let's put it that way.
Agreed.
And so that would change things, because that's not how it was. We'll just leave it at that. Basically, in general.
I have a theory.
Sorry?
I have a theory about what he saw, because we're pretty confident that he cannot see Saidar.
Right.
Men can't see women channeling and vice versa.
Yeah.
The Blazing Sun comment mentioned in the books about somebody else. Okay. There was a reference in I don't know if it was behind the scenes or it was one of the videos or something, that they said when you're looking at the intro and you see the thread being torn apart, and that cascade of yellow comes crashing in, and then it goes into a weave and it becomes a pattern and whatnot. Explain that crash of yellow is, it says when the pattern feels a break in the thread, creates a Tavern, fix it. So, stretching here, but I think what he saw wasn't her weaving. I think it was her, that the show, and I mentioned this before, that I think the show may have made her a Tavern. I always thought should have been in the books, and we had that discussion, right, where they didn't really need it, but they pulled things to themselves throughout the books, just like anybody else. They just didn't have the title.
Yeah. I feel like so.
Yeah, and so
Have at it.
okay, so even if you can't see the bright lights or the weaves, you have to notice her hair is flying straight up.
Oh yeah, so cool.
So if nothing else, he just suddenly sees her braid coming undone and her hair is just flying back.
Wow, like
That's
a raging
quite the sight.
sun. These are sun rays.
Yeah, just
No,
braids.
I also think his comment, like, there's been a lot of stuff on TikTok about he can clearly see something because why would he say like a raging sun? Well, that literally calls back to Moraine's comment to him 5 minutes before, where she said, "Your power is but a pinprick of candlelight compared to the blazing or raging or whatever sun that will be the dragon reborn." And so even if he couldn't see the weaves, he saw a display of power unlike probably any he's ever seen in the fact that she healed them all. And there could have been a shockwave, like Sarah Nakamura said, like maybe there was just a physical shockwave that came from it. And that could have just been him acknowledging, like a raging sun, like that's like maybe this is the dragon reborn, and this display of power was something that I never would have imagined. I don't know. Marin, it looked like you had something to say.
Well, I just find it really fascinating that this healing wave washes over everybody in the vicinity. So it would have washed over him as well. And that's when he has his moment of clarity.
Like it was his madness.
Like a little filter moment.
Yeah, like there was like this, it just like fought through the madness till the taint, reinfested itself. But I just thought that was really interesting.
That's a cool way to look at it. He also flinches away from her before he even sees her. If you watch, he's starting to channel. She goes, nuclear. I said it right. He flinches away from it with his eye closed, like there's visible light. So I'm still thinking that certain people can see Tavern. I don't know if he's one of them.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea. Like if she's a Tavern, I think that could make sense. The one thing about that is like he would have been able to see her before. But an AoE heal. I love that, Gregor.
Totally an AoE heal.
Yeah, and there's also people, Morshadi is right on Twitch. He said, you do not need to see the weaves to know where they are. She could sense what was breaking through. So yeah, like the people are worried that some Aes Sedai appeared to know where Loghain's weaves were. And my response to that is the Red Aja particularly, but I think Aes Sedai in general have sort of trained to like sense what's going on even if they can't see them, because otherwise basically women would be completely screwed anytime they came against a male channeler. Like what are they gonna do? Just like flail, you know what I mean? Like they have to have a way canonically to react to that.
Their weaves would press up against something that's not there, so that's how they can sense it, right? So it's not like they can't see the weaves, but they can feel there's something blocking there. I mean, that's a way. You don't know what he's throwing at you, but you can sense the gaps in your weaves because they're going around something solid, for example, that's invisible.
In the books, though, male channelers were able to sense Aes Sedai weaving. They just couldn't see the weaves.
Just goosebumps.
They could sense someone was.
No.
I don't know, because they had.
Yeah.
They got prickles.
They get the prickles.
Yeah.
Goosebumps. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If they were channeling close by enough. So also, other than the like a blazing sun comment, if he saw nothing else, Loghain probably got some mad goosebumps in that situation with Nynaeve. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Wild Gardenia has a good point. Karini probably saw the Sidar shield bow out from under Loghain before she blocked Moiraine and Leandrin. Basically, just like she's reading context clues. This is about to happen because this thing is happening. She's reacting immediately, and she's agreeing. So you would expect her to be able to do that. And so we have. All right, I loved this shot, so I'm gonna pull it up. After Nynaeve goes Super Saiyan / like all the other ways that you guys in the chat said, which I appreciated. The sisters,
another Mashadar mouth moment.
Yeah, the sisters all link up. They do the link thing or whatever, and Leandrin at the helm takes down Loghain. And holy, this was beautiful but intense. It was intense. Marin, how did this?
Yeah, that line she says. Oh,
you
sorry. Go
do
ahead.
it. No, you do it. What were you saying?
where Leandra and she says, "I don't care. He killed our sister, and I will cut him down."
Mhm.
Like, can you not just like cheer for Leandrin in that moment?
Yeah.
Like, cut him down.
In the spoiler section, I'm gonna probably upset you.
Fair enough. Okay, but Marin, how did this part make you feel? Do you feel like they should have still tried to contain him and take him to the White Tower?
Oh, hell no. They couldn't have made it. I don't think they would have made it, honestly. I think it's like one of those battlefield decisions you just have to make. But my kind of like, oh man moment is when they're linking and they cross their hands. I don't know. It seemed like an odd gesture, you know. I mean, I kind of get where it's going, but it was almost distracting, you know. But I did love that Alana runs in and immediately joins. I mean, she knows what's happening. She goes in and she joins, and they are all so powerful together that he has no way to get away. So yeah.
Even Moraine jumps right in.
Yeah.
She doesn't question.
Notice-
She knows this is the right thing to do.
They're all sisters. Hashtag girl power.
Yeah.
It was a very submissive gesture, though. It's like my hands are tied down here. You're in charge, and then when they go up, they're still kind of tied above their head, like you're in charge.
They're linking. They're choosing to link with someone and
They're
giving
choosing
someone else
to
the power to
relinquish
direct.
the power.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Which you also see her right hand forward, by the way, directing that power.
Hand stuff all night.
I was thinking OA. I don't know if anybody's seen OA on Netflix.
It's exactly what it felt like.
Those hand things were very
Except
OA, and I was like,
much
holy
cooler.
crap. Yeah, way cooler.
Way cooler.
Anthony Acton in the YouTube chat, I agree with you. The controller of the link controls the hand gestures. That seems right, because it would be really inconvenient and problematic for the story for everyone who's in a link to have to do to have to know what the hand gestures are in advance. You know what I mean? So I think I kind of buy into that. I imagine that since they're doing all these hand gestures, that's what's going on. Personally,
Get Leandrin's controlling their hand gestures?
Otherwise they're just like perfectly synchronized, and also like later on, if we get inexperienced channelers that get thrown into circles, basically that would cripple the circle if they have to be doing all the same hand gestures. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not
Think about
true.
that. That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty interesting. I just thought that the synchronized movements were insane. They were amazing.
Yeah, no, they were. They just would be a little inconvenient if we needed to get stuff done.
It's a direction. I mean, they're allowing it to happen. It's not like it's a painful thing. Like they chose to link and,
Right.
let her guide that.
True. Yeah. It's this is some, and I guess just for thank you Joel Phillips, Ellie Ziegler, and Fizzle Gig, and Claude Complex, and Jace Gordon, if I didn't already say your name, for the subs and follows. We love you here. Come back every week at 7:30 Central Time for the Wheel and Chill show. So the hand gestures, like the rings, help the readers to understand what's happening on screen. Wild Gardenia, I think you're right. You're probably true. And yeah, it's this episode, the last like 10 minutes of this episode were mind-blowing television, and that's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is good too. And
I felt totally empowered after watching this last episode. Like, I was ready to save the world, y'all.
I totally, yeah.
What can I do? Just tell me. Let's do this right now.
If you didn't, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You were saying.
I was just gonna say, if you didn't already love Nynaeve, that ship has sailed, because if you don't stand Nynaeve by now, you have no taste. And that's
there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
This shot I basically grabbed here because, not really a
Oh my
spoiler, but
goodness.
in the books they say how hard it is to lift someone. If you recall, they mentioned it several times. It's really hard to lift someone, and here they've got him tossed up in the air. It's a great visual, so I'm sure they did that for the show. Plus, they're linked, so that's possibly another reason that they could do it. I don't think that's something that they would bring into the show, right? The fact that you can't lift someone, but I just thought it was interesting that he was hovering, that they picked him up with the weaves.
Definitely intensifies it. Like, it really shows power that they're able to do that. Yeah.
100%. Okay, so is it about time to enter spoiler territory, or is there more stuff that's non-spoilery that y'all want to talk about first? Sorry, I keep forgetting.
A theory, but I don't know if it's spoilery or not, and this goes right back to the Leandrin thing.
Okay.
So there were several scenes noticed, and I've got screenshots in there. So there's the has to go back to when Moraine first goes in to see Logan. She goes, "I want to see him." She walks in. She has to ask, "Can he hear us?" She shouldn't have to ask because she should be able to see the weaves. So she has to ask, and Leander is the one that says, "Yes, we've got air, plugs of air in his ears," which I thought was weird, right?
That is weird.
So that's the first one. Then Moraine assumes the shield. Leandrin lets go of her shield, and they make a point of showing her shield dissipating of him.
Beautifully displayed.
Later on, Vinny confronts Leandrin. Out there, you've talked to everybody else. You haven't talked to me. They have that whole conversation, and Leandrin's like, "Well, if he tried to escape, we would have a reason to gentle him." And she's like, "No, you should know. Even Red should know better. Tower law better than anybody else." And so when that conversation happens, and they go to sit down, Leandrin gets this weird look on her face, and I think I got a shot of that somewhere. And then she kind of glances at the cage, at which point they close up. They do a close up on Logain, and his mouth twitches into a smile, which I think he heard the conversation. I think he was listening. I don't think that they had the plugs of air in his ears. And again, this is all speculation. Later on, when Karini gets her warning from the wards that she put up, right? Right before Logain escapes, do a close-up of his face, and you see this exact same dissipation before he blows out. My theory is that Leandrin may have dropped her shield, allowed him to burst out, because she really wanted to gentle him.
She did.
So I think she caused Karini's death. That's my theory.
I disagree.
Okay.
No, you do, but no, that's my thing.
Is your disagreement spoilery, or can we keep the spoiler flag
I don't think it is.
Okay, great.
I don't think it's spoilery. Okay, so I disagree because I think Logain is just way stronger than he's letting them believe.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, it's so hard. 2 sisters, 3 sisters holding me down." Well, at the same time, he's like, "Hey, army, I'm over here. Come get me. Hey, army, I'm over here." Like, how did they know exactly where to go? I mean, maybe trackers for sure. But I mean, he could have been signaling somehow also, he could have just been playing his part, biding his time, And it had nothing to do with one of the sisters. They just got played.
Yeah. I think he was playing.
Yeah, and that's why I said it was speculation.
There's no, we do not.
Please
We are
speculate.
not. Yeah, speculation is
Let's
what
go.
this show is all about. But I just agree with Winespring on this one.
And I think that, when Leandrin, she's channeling so much of the power that she almost is burning herself out. And I think if this had been some sort of little trick on her part, that she wouldn't have put that kind of effort into it.
All right, her glow lasted all of a second. All right, Moraine called it, said you're drawing in too much. She lit up for a second and then let go. I think it was a ploy.
It could be.
Ooh.
I do.
Better way to cover your tracks than to pretend that you're so angry that you're gonna freaking burn yourself out.
It is very, very interesting that
It's a dangerous game.
They can't see each other's weaves. Like, that is something that is a definite change from the books, and there's a lot of implications. And I guess later on in the books, there are certain ways to conceal what you're doing with the one power. And so this could, I guess, just kind of expedite that and make that true for every single weave that anybody's doing, I guess. But yeah, it's...
I guess I didn't catch that they couldn't see each other's weaves. I mean...
It doesn't say it, but I mean... Moraine should have been able to walk into that cave and seen the weaves of plugs in his ears.
Well,
Having
not
to
if they were
ask.
inside his ears.
That's
I mean...
not a bad point. Okay, you're
True.
right.
I mean, it's possible. You're right.
That's true.
Just wondering.
No,
You
you're
know,
right.
plus-
It's a possibility.
I didn't think about that. But you're probably
Excuse me, Rafe Judkins, if you could just speak up in chat and let us know, that would be really appreciated, please. Were there visible air plugs, please? That'd be great. Thanks.
he comes in here and under the name Jafe Rudkins.
Right. Okay. So I think it's time to now
do it.
get like finally all of our final big extreme like theories out before we close down the stream. And so I'm gonna throw up fair warning to everyone: if you're just a show watcher and you do not want any book spoilers, get out. Because we're about to do it. I literally just heard.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
Run while you can.
I said the wrong thing. Here we go. Yes. Warning: this segment contains spoilers for the Wheel of Time until the end. Until Towers of Midnight. Not Towers of Midnight.
Towers.
Until the end of A Memory of Light, the last book of the Wheel of Time. Not Towers of Midnight. So okay, you guys, I think several of you said you have thoughts, and they involve spoilers. What are
thoughts,
they?
yes.
What are the thoughts? Give me the thoughts.
Spring, do you want to go first? Do you have anything?
Leandrin.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Get out of
So-
here if you're not a book reader.
Yeah.
Get out. Get
Here
out.
now.
Because it's gonna be a thing here.
We're diving in.
You're gonna learn something you don't want to know if you stay. You know, in the book, she's Black Aja, and I don't think at this point she is. I really don't. I think she's,
Really?
she's got a temper.
Interesting.
I think what's happening is in the middle of all of this, there's an opening for that to happen. I think up until this point, just because she seems so self-righteous, which I mean, granted, I could be wrong, but I just get the feeling at this point she is, she's got a lot of pride. She obviously is out to, gentle every man that can channel. And, if you have to kill him, okay. But I don't think that's coming from the fact she's somehow aligned with the Dark One. I think that gives the Dark One and his minions an opening to her. And I think it happens later
Interesting.
in the show, not in the books.
Interesting. Like we'll get to see it.
Yeah. I think we'll see her turning.
Ooh.
I kind of
Ooh, I would
like
love
that. I like that.
Yeah.
I got the sense that she
Fascinating.
was particularly interested in Nynaeve, and that made me think like, is she getting like deets about these Two Rivers folk, and she's supposed to keep an eye on them. You know what I mean? So like, I guess like I really think that's a cool idea, but also there's these little hints that maybe she's already black because she seems to be particularly interested in Nynaeve, and we don't know why. So okay.
And and she's clearing the field so that they can pinpoint the Dragon Reborn.
Could be.
Yeah, Wild Gardenia asked earlier about that, about Leandrin maybe seeing Nynaeve in her dreams.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe seeing all five. You
Good
know,
call,
like-
Wild Gardenia. I did not see that, but yeah, I think you could be right.
Are you saying there was a social of some sort? Y'all got a memo?
Yes.
Okay, Tavern. You had something, didn't you?
Yeah. So at the very beginning in the intro, this is a visual, right? And it's a stretch. I'm going to call it right now. It's a stretch. But my defense, you remember what I called it. So anyways, bring up the picture.
I did. It's here. Please is always helpful. No, I'm kidding.
Please. Sorry. That's the magic word. Okay, so this shot with Logain and the King of Gelden thought was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, he's saying, what is a crown? When he says, you'll never get the silver crown, he goes, what is a crown to the Dragon Reborn? Which is in the direct opposite. Rand thought that, but he still wore it because he knew the importance of having to wear the crown.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a cool nod at later on. The biggest thing here is he says, I intend to bind them. First he says, those women should be following me, and I intend to bind them in an area that's surrounded by crenellations, I believe that's what they're called, that could be construed as trees if you're really thinking outside the box.
You squint really hard.
Red banners that could be misconstrued as red aja, and a stone that looks like a box. This whole image screamed Dumais Wells at me so strongly, just as a visual nod to something later on, foreshadowing later on. And I don't do drugs. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I do eat a lot of Starburst candy canes.
That is funny. I never would have thought of
Trigger's
the
a
flags
drug.
as the
That's
red
where my
odd
brain.
job.
Yeah, that's where my brain goes when I see stuff like this.
You're not wrong though. That does look like a well. Like it literally does. So not. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Stretch, but it's just a good imagery. I think.
I love it. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's great.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Winesprings, did you have spoiler thoughts?
No, I don't think so. Mm-mm.
No. Oh, I thought we had one.
I don't.
What about
I
the
don't.
dream, Rand's
You
dream?
didn't do the dream.
I mean,
that's
that's like so much foreshadowing.
you're right.
And I think my favorite part was Matt walking along with blood on his hand. His
I do too.
Hand of the red hand.
Yeah. Pulling it up.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I didn't think about that. I was like, why is his hand bloody? Because I'm a freaking idiot. And when I watch these for the first time, I'm always like, emotion, excitement,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
stars
Yes,
in my eyes. You know
enjoy
what I
it.
mean? And then
Mhm.
and then I miss stuff like this, and then somebody brings it up on the internet, like, oh my gosh, band of the red hand, and I was like, shut up.
That's amazing.
You're right. So, Marin, you're right. This is great foreshadowing. I think it's fabulous. Very cool. Very cool. More
There's-
Yeah, that makes me think about what Logain says about being dangerous because he has all that history in his head. And Tom says the same thing about being a Gleeman, having all the history in his head. And then you have Matt when he's, the whole Band of the Red Hand situation. He's got some history in his head. And all three of those are some dangerous men.
They are.
Or dangerous people.
Yeah, and Matt becomes one of the most dangerous men. The
Yeah.
knowledge that he gains. This shot right here,
Yeah.
me is Perrin getting rid of his demons. It's crazy. He's literally pounding on Layla's body with a freaking hammer.
Yeah, and I'm
Insane.
seeing people in the chat saying that Daniel Green doesn't think this is Layla and thinks this is a Tinker. I disagree. There's a huge braid.
They showed
Um,
the ring.
she's
They
got
showed
her
the ring that they wore.
Yeah, her ring on her finger. I think that's Layla. I actually noticed that one.
The
And
braid goes straight down the top of her head. That's definitely Layla. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's the Dutch braid for those of you that aren't
What is
familiar
it
with
called?
braids.
I thought it was a
It's-
mohawk braid.
A Dutch braid is whenever they're inside out. It's like it's not a tucked in. It's untucked. It's an untucked braid. So fun fact about me is when I braid my own hair, I do it in a French braid, and when I braid somebody else's hair, without knowing why, I do it in a Dutch braid. So now you guys know something
how
about me.
funny.
So two truths
That's
and a lie.
interesting.
You'll catch me. It's stupid. It's an aside. You guys don't want to hear about that.
No, I love that.
No, that was amazing.
That was cool. Yeah.
This though.
I feel like I know you better.
we learn about each other on stream. And Marin, you weren't here last week, so I guess since we've got you, how do you feel about Layla and her existence at all? How did you take the Perrin wife controversy?
Well,
Putting her on the
before
spot.
I saw it, when I just had heard the rumor, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're kidding me. They fridged a woman just to give a man, just to have man pain. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what? And it worked though. I mean, it worked. I wish I had heard there was a rumor that they'd considered making it, Master Luhan instead, and I wish they had made that choice.
Yeah.
And I think that there was, we're going to learn more about their relationship as time goes on, because there were a lot of unanswered questions in the way they interacted with each other, the way Layla interacted or didn't interact with the rest of the town. Lots of speculation, obviously, about why that might be. But I think
Karen
there's
Pinky?
more there
I
than
saw
meets
it.
the eye.
I think you're right.
Mhm.
I think you're right. And yeah, lots of pinky action. We don't know why, but there's a lot of pinky
Yeah.
touching.
That was very sweet.
The hand
It
stuff,
was.
guys. I'm
It
telling you,
was.
pay attention.
And stuff.
No, I agree. I think that's sweet. I feel like
Me too.
when my husband and I hold hands, sometimes I just hold one finger because I'm a child. But no, that was a cute little thing.
So cute.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
It was.
sweet?
I just thought it was something that they came up with just to solidify their relationship, which was a very cute, very normal thing for a couple to do. They have the little quirks, and I thought they did a great job with that. But you brought up that it was possible fridging. Kritter. I think it was actually our first stream when we talked about it. We talked about episode 1 through 3. I was like, yeah, that's what it seems like. But then to have basically Marcus Rutherford, the first after show, basically said, yeah, they gave him a wife and they killed her off, sort of the motive. He just flat out said it.
He's like, here, this is fridging. But
yeah, this is fridging.
It's the Wheel of Time.
Works.
Like fridging, and people hate that term. It's coined because it was based off of a comic book plot where a dead woman is literally put into a fridge. That's where it came from. So it's a
That's
trope.
very uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable, and it's a trope, and it's real. But in the Wheel of Time, and I've talked about this kind of ad nauseum at this point, because there's so many strong female characters, like, I think it's forgivable. Like, I'm not, I heard about it, it made me mad at first, and then I was like, I mean, we've got Moiraine, Nynaeve, Egwene, Liandrin, Alana. Like, we've got a lot of them.
Well, and I don't think any of us are expecting a flawless show. I mean,
yeah.
And so it's like, okay, they didn't knock that one out of the park.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
We now
and they
have-
called honey cakes bread. So yeah,
But, like,
Oh, no.
not a
Okay,
perfect
that
show.
did hurt my heart a little bit.
Not a
I'll be
perfect show.
honest.
I agree.
was like,
I agree.
That's not cool.
You know, so they did make her a blacksmith, which I do appreciate.
That was
So at
amazing.
least there was a little bit of that happening.
That was cool. And she was a stud. Like, her fighting Trollocs, assuming she's not a dark friend, like, it sounds like they're trying to say that is not the case. Like, people on Twitter, like, the actress, I think herself, maybe said
did.
she wasn't a dark friend. So I think they're trying to dispel
Yeah,
that.
she did. That's right.
But she,
Sarah even backed her up on that.
yeah, she was awesome. She was an
Yeah.
incredible fighter, also a blacksmith, just a little dramatic, and there was some kind of marital tension. We don't know what it is, but so we'll see what happens.
Somebody has an interesting theory that Layla is not an original Two Riverian, an Eamon's Fielder, and maybe she was already pregnant, and Perrin was all like, "Hey, I'll marry you." You know, I'm like,
Could have changed that.
that
for
would have
the
been
show.
interesting.
They could have changed that for the show.
Mm.
So what I saw from an
That's
interview with
interesting.
Rafe was that said in the books, around in the books, Perrin had said, you know, if I'd have stayed in the Two Rivers, I would have probably married Layla, right? And so in that interview, he said, since we had kind of matured them a little bit, we just made that happen because if he'd have stuck around, which he did, right, at least a couple of years, he ended up marrying Layla.
Yeah.
Now, the whole dark friend thing, I don't think that was the thing. I find it interesting that one, she was a blacksmith. Two, Matt says that Layla made tools. Doesn't say Perrin did jack shit. I'm gonna be honest. I think Layla was the primary blacksmith.
And Perrin was her
Interesting.
apprentice. I love that. Let's
Either
Yeah.
say
apprentice
that
or
that's
just,
what,
you know,
let's say that's
yeah.
true.
That's what it seemed like.
What
to
a
me
cute
anyway.
little couple dynamic to
I
have.
love it. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Now that I've reconciled myself to it, I'm just like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. And I'm seeing people in the chat be like, well, people die. This happens. But the concept of fridging, just to like put a final just word on it before we move on, because I feel like we got to be done with it at some point, is that concept is to motivate another character. So people die all the time, but a lot of times their death doesn't like create the main plot for the character going forward. So think of Deadpool 2 or or The Punisher. I think his wife dies maybe.
Punisher,
And
yeah.
So
his
yeah,
whole family, yeah.
that's his whole motivation is like, you killed my wife, like John Wick and the dog, but it's think of the dog as a
John Wick
woman.
and the dog.
Just like that's the fridging in a nutshell. You kill off a woman typically, or somebody who's underrepresented in media, and that motivates usually a man. And that's where people have problems, because a lot of properties have a lot of men, not so many women, not so many strong women. And then if you get rid of one that might have been strong, that's just mildly problematic, and that's all. But again, Wheel of Time has a lot of strong women, so that's it.
Yep.
I pulled up this picture earlier. It was sitting there for a long time while we were talking about fridging for no reason, because it didn't apply at all to what we were talking about. But we've got Balsamon. We've got Demon Guy. We'll go. I guess I don't know. Do we know his name yet?
I mean,
oh wait, we're
think
spoilers.
about it.
It's spoilers. We've got Balsamon.
he kills Egwene, it motivates Rand, so it's kind of pre-fridging.
He kills it.
What?
If he in this shot he's got Egwene, right?
Okay.
Refocus. Okay.
He's holding her from Rand, and if he kills her in his dream, that would be like fridging.
In the dream. Oh yes, the dream
So-
sequence. Okay,
yeah, so
and there we go.
pre-fridging.
Fridging.
Fridging.
Yes.
I made up a new word.
I wonder if our audio literally was so like simultaneous on the stream, because literally you and
Might have died, 'cause
you
all
and
of
I
you were, like,
Winespring
quiet.
were just like, what, at the same time. I love
We're in
that.
sync.
I know. Marin,
All the-
so
oh.
this feels pretty true to the books, the depiction. I feel like we even have a picture of Balsamon on a book cover somewhere, and I can't remember which
Ew.
one. This looks about right. Do you agree?
Yeah, I have no qualms with it. I do think that they're doing better. I mean, the first time we saw him, honestly, I felt, it feels a little cheesy,
Mhm.
but they seem to have improved with each episode. So
Doesn't-
it's like, I feel it is. What do you
They
think?
become more coherent. His face becomes more coherent as the books go along.
Mhm.
The point where he finally gets a face at one point.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I think it's
Because their connection gets deeper, better, or something, right?
Maybe.
Or I think
yeah.
he's out of his strength. From the Dark Lord is getting stronger, so he's being able to coalesce his attributes a little bit better. But I think in the books he progressively becomes more clear,
Mhm.
slowly defining. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't include the spoiler thing for this particular one, and I just want
I
to.
thought we were going to do it till the end of time.
We did, but I've got two different scenes. This is the OBS
Okay.
Streamlabs. It's the movie magic, okay? So I didn't have it on this one. But somebody asked in the chat, and yes, they are. This is a full spoilers stream right now, books and show. This is one of the Forbidden, aka the Forsaken. Sorry, I thought that was cute because I'm a book nerd, and I saw Forbidden, and I was like, oh, that would be a kind of a fun name for them. But yeah,
Forbidden.
this is one of our bad guys. This is one of our Forsaken, and he's basically just crazy, like batshit crazy in the book. And I don't know, he looks pretty batshit crazy in the show too, right?
It's amazing.
I mean, I
The
would
only
be scared if he showed up.
Yeah.
difference. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
On the book cover, I think he had like a turban on or something, or some kind of like head covering, if I'm not mistaken, like a cloak or some shit on the book covers. But
Oh, that's
this is
right.
spot on.
That's right. He did.
Spot on. I mean, the glowing embers in his mouth and eyes. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought it was cheesy on the book cover, and so now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, yeah, that's that. Like, this is it. Like, this is what it looked
To
like
be
on the cover.
Yep.
Honest,
Perfect.
as much as I like the book covers, they were all pretty cheesy.
It's true. Well, I
were.
love the book covers. Like, Daryl K. Sweet is a genius, but part of the genius was the cheese. Marin, you have.
I just wanted to say the Eye of the World cover that Mr. Sweet did. I bought the book because of the cover, thinking the character Moraine, that's actually Moraine, she looked like an elf to me. And I'm like,
Yes.
no, a giant and an
Yes.
elf. This is going to be amazing. And I was so disappointed there were no elves in the book. But I did love the book, so I kept reading. But it was just one of those, like, I'm waiting for the elves to show up. There were no elves.
I bought it because
Spoiler, there's no elves.
I bought it because I saw Nicolas Cage on the cover, and I was a big fan of Gone in 60 Seconds. No, I'm kidding. But somebody does look like Nicolas Cage in that cover. Go ahead, Tavern.
For sure.
The Forsaken, right, or Balsamon here, is the main reason why I think, one of the main reasons I think that the sparkly stuff people around Logain might also be Forsaken, because of the description of Masana in Crown of Swords. When she appears in front of Alviarin, she said she was made of smoke and silver light. And I thought those figures looked a little different from the Sidar, corrupted Sidar. And we're all full spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, since we're full spoilers, the ale that we saw in the cage in episode 3, part of ones that came across Spine of the World looking for He Who Comes with the Dawn. So they've pushed a lot of stuff ahead, because that actually doesn't happen until a little bit later in the books with Perrin. They've given us an eel right off the bat to start planting that seed. So if you look at Sidar when he's casting it, you don't see any of the little silvery shiny stuff coming off of it. It's just white and black. Whereas in here, you see little sparkles of white every once in a while, and it just looks a little different. But that's why I think that they're pushing a lot of stuff, or foreshadowing a lot of stuff, to move the story ahead quicker, so that when we get to the stuff, it's already been introduced to us. It's not as shocking.
I think you could be right there. And you're not wrong. These figures do it's not far off from the description, I don't think.
And they also only give one name for both of them. Male side, the male didn't have a name. It was Alucia for both of them.
This is your face on Sidene, Corwin. Oh man! All right, so guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. So are there any more final like thoughts from you all after the whole stream? Let's just like say our little goodbyes, and I'm gonna once again first toss it to Marin to give us your last thoughts on episode 4, or just the show in general, because we're halfway through.
It is brilliant. I'm very sad we only get 8 episodes.
I know.
And I'm like, considering how we've been anticipating for years, and it'll be over in a few weeks till the next season. It just breaks my heart. But I've loved being on this tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. All right, Tavern, give us your last words.
Two quick things. I keep hearing people complain, oh, will you get over the whole who's the dragon reborn, who's the dragon reborn? And at first I was like, okay, I know who it is. Non-book readers, I have all of my friends are non-book readers that are watching the show because I have no one around here that has read the books. Every single one of them has a different idea on who the Dragon Reborn is. So the marketing for that was spectacular.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I can't remember the second one. So,
well, if you think of it, we can circle back.
We're good.
Okay, Winespring, give us your thoughts.
Oh gosh, final thoughts on this episode. Oh, I just love what they're doing with Lan and Nynaeve.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see more of those subtle interactions from two very stoic, very passionate, extremely strong people. Yeah, I just can't wait to watch it unfold more. So that was probably one of my favorite parts, actually, from this episode.
I love that. All right, so I guess I'll go. If Tavern doesn't remember, then we'll have a mystery, and maybe he'll think of it, and maybe he'll think of it before the next stream. But I just want to thank everyone for being here. This is super fun. We're here every single Monday at 7:30 Central to go over the most recent episode of The Wheel of Time. Next week will be episode 5. Cannot wait. Who knows what it's gonna be? And this is really fun. I appreciate both of my co-hosts and Marin guesting. I just want to say follow MarinVere or MarinVere. Is that at MarinVere on Twitter? Yeah, okay, at MarinVere on Twitter. I've got Taverns and Winespring's deets in the discussion on YouTube, in the description on YouTube. So give them follows, like spam the follow button on all of their stuff. Make Winespring's recipes and post reviews.
Eat my food.
Eat her food. Post reviews on her website. Do me a favor and follow or subscribe on Twitch or YouTube or whatever the word is on those. Do that, and for me as well, because I appreciate you all being here and I want you to come back. And yeah, basically episode 4 in my opinion was the best episode so far. That moment with Nynaeve was mind-blowing, and I'm still loving Matt and Rand's plot. I'm really curious to see what happens with Egwene and Perrin next, because I think the Tinker thing is coming to an end, and that's about all I have. I really appreciate all of you guys being in the chat. This was super fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess that's it.
Thank you so much.
That's all I have. Unless Tavern, do you remember your thing?
Don't. I do want to say that. I do want to say that what Winespring brought up. In the books, they don't show this relationship with Lan and Nynaeve. It goes from not liking each other to something to all of a sudden in a book, oh my God, they love each other. It's really,
disagree 100%.
They don't
Wholeheartedly disagree.
They don't show the interactions like they're showing on the show. Just putting that out
Yeah,
there.
totally don't. It's very different.
That's what I'm getting at.
But there was chemistry from the beginning.
Sort of, kind of, but it's not. It's not as gradual as they're doing in the show, which is amazing. So, anyways, we'll fight over that later after I have some.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. This was awesome, and we will be back next week, and